Hey, listeners, and welcome to the You Are Epic podcast. This is where we honor the people who've helped build not just our industry, but our communities. I'm Angela Hucker, and I am so glad that you're here. So, I'm taking the time to sit down with people who've been in construction for years, people who've been through the ups, the downs, and everything in between. You're going to hear real stories of resilience, growth, and moments that shaped who they are. This podcast is for those that want to learn more from people who've been walking this path for some time, and they're helping to lift up others and quietly making a difference along the way. It's also to show you that your journey matters and your voice matters. And in case you've forgotten, you are epic. Let's get into it. Okay, so today's guest is Alison Brereton, a rising leader in Australia's construction industry with a background in project management and stakeholder engagement. With experience across Tier 1 contractors and major infrastructure projects, Alison brings a unique blend of technical skill and people-centered thinking. She's passionate about creating inclusive, high-performing project environments and is known for her sharp eye, calm leadership, and collaborative approach to getting things built. So thanks for joining us, Alison. It's awesome to have you here.
Thank you, Angela. Thanks for having me.
You're most welcome. So what we might do just to get started with is I'd really love to hear how you got started in construction because that always fascinates me with people. And what role are you doing now?
Okay, so when I finished school, I was young. I was a young high school student. I was 17. I didn't have a license. And I did an office admin traineeship, and it just happened to be with a big Melbourne building company. And there were two roles going, one in the office, one on site, and they chose me for the one based on site. And I can now
Awesome.
see why they obviously saw something in me and went, okay, that's where she'd be good at. And that was down Spencer Street, building the bridge over the Spencer Street station. It was Spencer Street back then in 1997.
Yeah,
So
wow.
I was a document controller and I was literally copying drawings and getting all the faxes and all the documentation. And I worked on site full time and pretty much have not stopped from being on those site type of roles, except for when I started a job in Melbourne in 2002. So a few years later, as their secretary at another building company. And within a few years, basically ended up on site again as a junior contract administrator.
Oh, wow.
Worked there for 18 years. And then I've slowly worked my way up to senior contract administrator, contracts manager, and then finally project manager, which I've been for the last nearly 5 years now.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. I can see how the pathways kind of led you that way as well, because you've started at the bottom with that doc control and understanding how projects are managed from that regards, and then moving into the contract admin, which that's my background as well as contract admin and contract management. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
document control with that because that's what you're doing is managing documents. And then into the project management. So that's awesome. So what's some of the projects that you've had the opportunity to work on?
Well, my first project on site was the Cabrini Hospital in Brighton, Melbourne, and it was about a $35 million project. So I was on site and I had a mentor who was a senior CA, and that went for about 18 months. And then I've done a few shopping centres. I've done a cancer centre in Warrnambool for Epworth.
Okay.
I worked at Pentridge for 4 years on a big shopping centre. It was about 70 million and a couple of high rises, apartments, things like that in Melbourne. More recently at Bendigo Airport. So that regional projects, Bendigo Airport, St Arnaud Secondary College, and I'm just about to start working on the Bendigo Showgrounds. And I've just finished a medical clinic for the Bendigo Aboriginal Cooperative as well. So quite
Wow.
a wide range of projects like health, commercial, apartments. Yeah, a lot of different mix in there.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love that. And a good variety as well with health and, like the showgrounds and different bits and pieces, high rises. So that's awesome because they all have their own complexities as well. So,
They do. And yeah, more recently, so my background in Melbourne was private clients, and now I've done quite a few government jobs, which is different again. So it's been
mm.
really good to have that different exposure there. Yeah.
So what's the difference that you've seen with from the work that you've done between the private and the government?
Well, the main thing I've noticed that I enjoy, I get a lot out of, is bringing facilities for community. And
Mm.
that's genuine. So I actually really do enjoy that, being able to upgrade a school or upgrade a medical center because it's helping people.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, building a shopping center, I don't know, you don't get as much personal satisfaction out of it.
Yeah.
But also government, it's a lot more streamlined. There's a lot more procedures in place with the government jobs.
Mm.
So not that it's a slower pace or anything, it's just probably a bit more straightforward to navigate. Not as hard line as some of the privates can be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so from that project management side, do you find that there's a lot more with the government stuff, a lot more stringent processes and reporting that's required compared to private and like getting decisions made, for example, like if there was a variation, um, or a scope change of any sort, really, to get that decision made, because sometimes there's a lot of barriers and red tape within government with decision-making processes compared to private. Do you find that sort of stuff that happens on the projects that you look after?
And sometimes it can be a little bit slower, but it generally depends what department you're dealing with and
Mm.
the people you're dealing with. I
Yeah.
haven't, I haven't found it too onerous, if that's what you mean. Yeah. Um, fairly similar. Fairly similar,
Okay.
I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good to know because sometimes government can put in a lot of the red tape. So it's good to know from that practicality point of view that it is similar rather than making it more onerous, especially when you're on the clock and you're getting something built as well that needs to be delivered for the community. So
Yeah, and generally if you've got a good superintendent in place, that keeps everything moving anyway. Um,
yeah,
but there's less risk with the government jobs.
correct.
You only get paid on time. It's a bit
Yes.
more comfort around that.
You're
Yeah.
going to be paid full stop. So one way
Yes.
or another.
But genuinely, I love seeing like the smile on the kids' faces when they get their new school, and the principal is so happy, for instance. It's just a different feel, and things like building the Bendigo Airport and you're bringing something for the community that they don't have to drive to Tullamarine, for instance, to fly to
Yeah.
Sydney. I don't know. It's just a bit more, yeah, satisfaction.
And you're having that impact at a sort of a grassroots level within a regional community as well, that, it's helping to make their lives a little bit easier.
Exactly. And with the Aboriginal medical clinic we built, we actually had a 20% target for Aboriginal spend of the project value. So we were engaging local Aboriginal businesses and employees, and we actually hit that target. We got
Oh, wow.
21% of the project spend. So the whole team, we learned a lot, during that project. And that was satisfying as well. Yeah.
So what sort of things did you learn as a part of that with having those quotas and then trying to reach those targets and overreaching them by 1%?
Well, it was more about learning more about the Aboriginal community and
Mm.
the way the community works, and having an appreciation of them as well,
Mm.
and just how the change, and it might not be instant change, but how it can change and improve things for all of them over the next generation.
Mm. Is it part of that is, like that initial collaboration and consultation with them to get them involved in, like even from the design perspective and to make sure it's culturally aware and culturally safe as well?
That as well, and integrating the artwork into the project as well. But yeah, just the impact the social procurement can have. And I guess it's
Mm.
the same with females in construction. Like it's taken years, hasn't it, to bring change. And sometimes it feels like nothing's happening. And I feel like it's the same, yeah, with the other communities like the Aboriginal community. It might not feel like anything is happening that quickly, but we are improving the outcomes for everybody. And having that medical clinic, for example, I've seen the patients come in and using it now. And it's fantastic. They've got somewhere they can go and receive healthcare.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's so needed because it's, a lot of people don't necessarily have access to, transport and things as well to be able to access that. And then their health deteriorates as a result because they can't access the services that they need. So,
That's exactly right. So I think my hardest times during construction were when I was doing buildings like shopping centres, and I felt like I was just making rich people richer, if that makes
yeah,
sense, in
yeah,
terms
yeah.
of those clients. definitely was not as satisfying. And sometimes you'd go home and you'd think, "Well, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this?" But at
Yeah.
least I am, yeah, now contributing to regional communities. That certainly helps.
That's awesome. And one of the points that you touched on was about, being a female in the industry, and you obviously started at a younger age at 17 and stuff. What kind of barriers did you face when you were starting it was the late 90s,
Yeah,
97?
like nice.
In 97. So what kind, because women in the industry were not common back then, we were the rarity, so to speak.
Yeah.
So what kind of barriers did you face back then in the late 90s as a female?
Probably things like, well, being the only female on site, not always
Yeah.
having your own toilet facilities, um,
Mm,
not really getting taken seriously. That took a lot of years, especially trying to break into the more senior roles, like
mm,
saying to my bosses, I want to be a CA, I want to be a CA. Why did this new person come in and they're not qualified either? And trying to actually get a chance. And I actually had to resign the company I was at for 18 years. I had to actually resign for them to then say, all right, wait a minute, we'll come back to you with something within half an hour. They said, all right, do you want to be a CA? And I said, yeah, I've only been asking for the last 2 years, you
oh
know,
my gosh.
but I stayed. And it was the best thing I ever did. So, yeah, those barriers and trying to pave the way to make it easier for other females in the future.
Yeah.
Also, the Barrett, like the inflexibility of working hours, especially back then. So you
Mm,
had to be in your seat, say, I don't know, at 7:30, but you had an hour and a half of travel, and childcare
mm,
didn't work until 7, and
mm-hmm,
things like that. So that's changed a lot over the years.
mm,
Things like that probably caused my most, I guess, grief, like in working in the industry. And I'd be driving home and I'd see mothers pushing prams and things like that. And
yeah.
occasionally I just would cry because I knew I wouldn't see my kids till 7 p.m.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, the guilt that comes with that. And I think that's why some women may only last 10 years in the industry because they then go and have a family and it becomes untenable. Like you kind of had to have nerves of steel back then to get through.
Definitely. It was definitely nerves of steel and a lot of resilience that went with that as well. So,
Yeah.
did you
Yeah.
did you have some good support in the form of some mentors or some allies or a network that helped you at that point back in the 90s?
No, my main support was actually my site managers have generally been my main support. To be honest, I've generally been based on site and I don't know, maybe they took like a fatherly kind of role. They were generally older guys than me then. And they would always be checking in on you, how you going? Or, you could ask them questions and they wouldn't act like it was a stupid question. So
Yeah.
it was mainly the male support there. I never had formal support. I didn't do a cadetship or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um, but I went back and did my studies at night time while I was working over the years. So I've educated myself in the background, and I feel like that's given me a lot of support, even just in terms of confidence, to,
Yeah. Okay.
to have that degree behind me, because I always felt inadequate because I didn't have that piece of paper.
That's
Um,
interesting. That's actually really interesting because I think there's a lot of women who are like that. I was certainly like that. Like I was doing the job for a number of years and I didn't have a piece of paper to back it up. And when I was doing fly in, fly out, and I went, all right, on my one day off in 28, I'm going to sit here and get a piece of paper. And I did three diplomas in 18 months. And it was just to actually go, oh, okay, I've got something to validate that I can actually do this now. So it's interesting that you say that because as females, that's what we think, but I don't necessarily think, generally speaking, that men would feel that same way.
exactly. So why do we do that to ourselves?
I know. I know. We beat ourselves up. Why do we do that?
I don't know. I did a diploma in building and construction, and I finished my Bachelor of Commerce, and I majored in management and HR because I thought maybe then I can climb
Wow.
the tree. Maybe that'll get me to be a project manager. Maybe they'll take me seriously. And in the end, I ended up changing companies to be able to become a project manager. So But I mean, look, it's still good to have the education, isn't it? You're still learning, but you
Oh,
put yourself under a lot of pressure in the
it's
meantime doing
a
that.
lot of pressure. It's definitely a lot of pressure. So now as a project manager, what are you kind of seeing is from your perspective, and obviously not just managing the projects, but managing the people as well. What kind of things are you seeing from your perspective that are better or could even use some improvement as well?
Well, I feel like it's might sound funny or strange, but I feel like it's been easier to be taken seriously since I've been a project manager.
Wow. Okay,
Maybe
that's great.
maybe it's the title. I feel like the term, the job role CA should have a different
Yeah.
title because as soon as you put the word admin in, people
Yeah.
picture a person in an office typing. And I feel like you don't get taken as seriously. But as a project manager, I haven't really had too many dramas. Yeah, certainly not from subcontractors.
And what
Um,
about with the people that you are on your projects that you're looking after or any direct reports that you have?
I haven't had, I mean, touch wood, I haven't had any issues with that either. I think because once they realize you've got the experience there and you know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
you earn the respect. I feel like sometimes with management, maybe it feels like it takes a bit longer to get the respect, but that could also be in my head. I could be imagining that if that
Mm.
makes sense because of the years of hardship when it was hard to get taken
Yeah.
seriously. Yeah.
So in your time, did you have a not so great manager that you either were reporting to or that you saw within the business that you were working in? And what did that kind of look like?
Yeah, I have had a couple over the years, probably more so years ago, who, yeah, would just give you the menial kind of jobs and not let you really sink your teeth into anything. And
Mm.
that's really frustrating because you're thinking, but I can do that.
Yeah.
Probably only two out of all the projects I've done. So that's pretty good, really, isn't it?
It's not too bad. Not too bad for, almost 30 years. So that's great.
Exactly. But I had a really good project manager about 5 years ago who let me come in and take over one of the smaller projects, kind of, and that's how I got my start into project management. So I'll be forever grateful to that.
Because it sounds like you've had a lot of people, even from what you said early in your years, who have seen the potential in you and they put you on a site-based role and then they did this and then you had this one 5 years ago. How important do you think that kind of recognition that sometimes people can't see in themselves can actually help elevate people with their careers and their aspirations?
It's so important. You can never underestimate it. Um, but because the company I was at for a long time was pretty old school, we didn't have performance reviews. So I only ever
Yeah.
had one towards the end of that 18 years. And I'll never forget one of the directors, he said to me, I don't think you've achieved everything you can achieve in this industry yet. He said, I think you've still got a lot that you can achieve. And I was like, wow,
Mm,
yeah. So that I just keep that in the back of my mind. And that's what kept me going, to be honest.
yeah.
Just him acknowledging that.
And knowing that someone believes in you that there's more that you can actually give as well.
Yeah.
So
And that's right. I was a senior CA at the time. And I remember thinking, well, why can't you guys, you know, progress me higher? But anyway, like sometimes you do have to step away to be able to get another opportunity.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But I did keep that in my mind. And that's what kept driving me. And I thought, no, I'm just going to keep pushing and pushing until
Yeah.
finally I get there. You know?
That's great. So have you got some career aspirations that you'd like to, other than you've reached your project manager, have you got anything further that you're aspiring to as well?
Definitely. So I want to do a master's. I'd love to be in senior management or some kind of directorship somewhere. I'm not sure
Okay.
how or where I achieve that. But my backup option, once I get older, potentially I was thinking I could be a lecturer, which is part of the motivation behind getting a
Nice.
master's.
Yeah, nice.
You need to have a master's to teach at bachelor level. And I thought, how good would that be to be able to teach the next generation? And
Yeah.
I'm sure there's not that many female lecturers in construction management, for instance.
No.
So that's a little alternative path. I was thinking, as I, when I'm 60, I don't want to be on site anymore telling somebody
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
So that's my backup plan.
Awesome. That sounds great. So what's your aspirations with being able to achieve that to do a master's? Because a master's is 2 years, is
It's,
it?
it's 2 years full time, I think.
2 years full time, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think so. Well, obviously, I'll do it. I'll still do it while I'm working, but I want it, yeah, for personal satisfaction and to be able to give me that lecturing option. But also, I'd eventually love to do a PhD if I can
Oh,
find something
nice.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, my youngest child's 11 now, so I feel like that side of things should be getting a little bit easier.
And
At
is there a particular topic that you'd love to do a PhD on?
Well, it's potentially leaning towards something about females in construction, but I'm not exactly sure yet what the actual topic will be. But I feel like I might be able to have something to contribute with that. And
Yeah, awesome. I think that's something great to aspire to, and certainly someone with your experience, and because you have come in and you've been that site-based dot control and you've worked your way up to CA and contracts manager and project manager, you've sort of seen it from the different layers as well to understand it. So I think that would be awesome and be something that would be very helpful for a lot of people.
that's exactly right. And even I'd love to get out, and I think I mentioned this to you at the Women in Construction Summit, to be able to get out to girls at high school level and for people who might not be academic, but to encourage them to go down this path of
Mm.
construction. That, yeah, I'd love to be able to be involved in something like that as well.
So with that side of it, with to entice more females into the industry, what sort of other ideas have you got that, because it's obviously a big focus in Australia at the moment, and there's a lot of incentives happening. What other ideas have you got, or do you think might be beneficial to help get more females in?
Well, I think hitting going around educating the girls at school around the year 10 level when they're starting to realize, wow, things are getting a bit hard. I think I mentioned to you my daughter's special needs, and I
Yeah,
know she will probably struggle at high school. Yeah, obviously I can tell her about it, but I'd love to get out there and kids who, yeah, are more practical based and hands on
yeah,
get that message out to them, even year 9 or 10, and so they can focus themselves and go, well, actually, I can go down this career path. I can use the skills I've got, and I can eventually make some good money, even though I might not be able to finish year 12 or go to uni,
and that's the thing, because uni's not for everyone and traditional learning is not for everyone. And, a lot of people, they are more that practical hands-on, that they need to be using their hands and building things and doing something that they can see a real tangible outcome.
100%. And
Mm,
if I'm allowed to go down this path, there's a lot more adult women being diagnosed with things like ADHD these days. And I
mm,
wish we would have understood that more. And it's not just the hyperactive ADHD, there's different types and there's overachieving types. And
mm.
yeah, but I feel like people with those types of things have a really good skill set for this
Yeah,
industry because of the
yeah,
fast pace and everything. And I identify a lot of people now and go, wow, God, you'd be good in this industry because of the way it moves so quickly and you've got to be
yeah,
thinking on your feet. And just, yeah, to give people hope that they can have a really fulfilling career despite, some challenges that they might have. And
yeah.
so I'm not sure how to achieve getting that message out there, but it's something I've been thinking about lately.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And I mean, the thing is, really, construction, there is a job for everyone in construction because it actually helps cover like a lot of needs for people. And
Yeah.
whether that is that you are an academic and you can do an executive role or, a research-based role, or you're a practical person and you can actually be on the tools, or you're sort of somewhere in between where you like, being exposed to site, but not necessarily on the tools, for example, but you like that management of stuff. So there really is a role for everyone and, lots of different behaviors and learning styles and everything as well. So,
Definitely. Yeah, I was really lucky that I fell into the right companies that help me to grow. And I'm
Yeah.
grateful to them for having that career.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just made a big difference in my life. And back in school, I think I thought I wanted to be an accountant or something like that. There's no way I could have sat there being in it. And I did get into a double degree, but thankfully I didn't. I
Oh,
thought I'd go
wow.
and earn some money. Yeah, which
Yeah.
is why I got into the admin traineeship. But
Okay.
having those bosses kind of, yeah, encouraging that growth, which makes a difference.
And look at where it's led you all these years later, which is incredible
It,
when you look back in hindsight, isn't it?
it is definitely. Yeah.
Because it's not that you could ever have planned this path that you've traveled with the different roles that you've done and the companies that you've worked at, and being site-based and things like it's not like we wake up and go, oh yeah, this is what I want. It just kind of seems to naturally happen. So
Yeah, but if I look back, I was always a tomboy and I was the only female in year 11 woodwork. So someone should have grabbed me
something
then.
was there. Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't. They said to the boys, oh, you should be a plumber or you should be a chippy. But no one ever said that to us girls. And I just want that to change.
Yeah. So did you ever think if you were the only girl in grade 11 doing woodworking, did you ever think that you wanted to be a carpenter at any point or?
No, because no one ever kind of guided me or
Yeah.
spoke about it. And it was, I hope things have changed now in high schools, but you're kind of pushed into those kind of, yeah, secretarial or accounting or business management and things like that.
Accounting and hairdressing and nursing and
Yeah.
childcare and all of those
Yeah, and
traditional roles, I'd say.
that's right. And the only reason I didn't go to uni, my dad couldn't really afford. I got into one that was at like an hour and a half away, just couldn't really afford to be supported during that uni
Mm,
phase. That's why I got a job,
yeah,
um, just with the blue collar upbringing. But yeah, it could be done easier and more streamlined for people in the future, for our young people. That's all I'm thinking.
absolutely. So apart from, engaging with more girls like at that grade 10 level and stuff, what would you like to see to be able to help more women understand that there are opportunities in the industry? What do you think the industry could be doing to better promote the industry?
Gosh, that's a tricky question, isn't it? Well, advertising and promotion, when we go to these like the MBAV Women in Construction breakfast and things like that, there's great advertising, little videos there and stories and things. But outside of that, you don't really hear about it.
No.
We know about it on these jobs because we've got social procurement targets. But yeah, I'd like to see a lot more promotion around it.
Mm. In mainstream media?
Mainstream. So yeah, in mainstream media, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
like some TV commercials or billboards or
Yep. Definitely. Get rid
and
of the
so
chocolate ads and put some
yeah, put some about, with how great the industry is and the opportunities that there are and it can anyone can come and work here.
Yeah, like you said, it's having the tangible, yeah, and the outcome. Like I built that building and you drive past them and you go, yeah, I was there from the start to the finish. It's
Yeah.
such a good feeling.
So is there a project that you're most proud of that you've been involved in
Oh gosh, that's
or
big
more than one?
because there've been so
But there's
many.
normally always so many, there's normally always one that's a standout. Like in my head, there's one that's a standout for many reasons, good or bad. Um,
Actually, no, I do know. It was the Bega shopping centre. So obviously it was in Bega, and I moved there with my two young boys, just me and the boys, and we lived there for 12 months. Lived in Maringular, and it was a basement and a couple of levels. It was about a $65 million job. It was a decent project, and I don't know. I think I'm the most proud of that one. Just there are a lot of different challenges because of the location, the regional location. And
yes.
just the fact that I went there and, I did that on my own, I guess, with the two kids. It was an adventure as well.
Yeah. And it's a
And
beautiful area, like
oh,
Bega and Merimbula, like it's just magnificent. I was there recently, so
and Tathra wasn't far away and all the just beautiful area, but had a great team on site there. And so it was like a big W and a Woolworths and a lot of little specialty tenancies. There was a lot in that project, even
mm.
from a structural perspective. So it was just really satisfying to be there from start to finish.
So what made you like most proud of that particular project? What was the standout other than being there, moving there with your two young boys and stuff and in a regional area? What was kind of the standout?
I guess it was a large project and it had every element, like you had basement levels. So it was a major excavation that went on for about
Mm,
5 months. Suspended post-tension slabs, heaps of precast panels. There was a lot of services coordination as well because I was working on site every day, you get stuck into it, and
mm,
there were just so many different trades every day in and out, and it was hectic. And sometimes you'd be working till midnight at home, so you'd go home and take your laptop, and but just to see that get handed over and see
yeah,
the tenants move in and people using that
yeah.
shopping centre, I was really proud because I guess I'd only been a CA for probably maybe 7 years at the time, so it was a pretty big project to take on. Yeah,
65 million, it's a decent size one for sure.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. And especially in a regional area where, like a lot of people would have had to have, a lot of the tradies would have had to have traveled as well to be able to come there and do the work. And
Yeah. And I was the only CA on that one, so it's quite a lot of work. And even things like we had the cleaners lined up at the end of the project. They didn't turn up, so we had to get out there on the scissor lifts, cleaning it all weekend. We were cleaning, the three of us. I think it was the site manager, the leading hand, and myself.
wow. So you were
And
handling the head contract and the
yeah,
subcontractors.
yeah. And then took 3 days with the building surveyor, myself and him at the end, with all the handover certificates and everything to try and achieve practical completion.
Yeah.
Everything was big and, had so much involved in it.
But you had a good team, and that sounds like that's what made the difference was having that good team around you.
Yeah, definitely. It's always about the team,
Yeah.
150%. Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
not one person that can ever build anything. It's everybody and it's our subcontractors, and you've got to treat them with respect. And I always
Mm.
try and do that. It's so important, that
It's
relationship side of things.
it is so important, and I don't see that it's something that's well embraced in the industry, unfortunately, because there's still a lot of adversarial relationships that go on between head contractors or principal contractors and subcontractors and their subcontractors, and it's always about who's taking the risk.
But at the end of the day, we all are, and we're all in it together. And it's probably the biggest thing I've learned over the time. And I'm happy to get in there with a mop. I was last weekend and I'll be there this Friday night. We're resealing some floors on one of the projects. So I'll be there
Okay.
cleaning up at the end as well. Like, I don't think, yeah, anyone's more important or better than anyone else. We just got to get the job done, basically.
Well, we're all on the same team. We're striving for the same outcome, aren't we? So,
Yeah.
as a leader, how would you like people to remember you by?
I'd like to be remembered as collaborative and fair. I was going to say it's a pretty basic thing to want to be remembered as, isn't it? But I think that's important and ethical, just strong values.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which I also think is a big part of what's missing is there's the values, but the accountability to maintain the values. Because a lot of people have values, which are words on paper and hung up on a wall
hmm
somewhere, but you actually have to be living into those values as well.
definitely. And they're intrinsic, aren't they? So,
Oh, absolutely.
and I guess to be known as someone who just never gave up, because I feel like that's what the success has come down to, never giving up.
Yeah.
I'd be lying to you if I said there wasn't times where I wanted to give up and go and do a really easy job, and or days when I felt like a terrible mother because I wasn't home on time or I forgot
Yeah.
about a school thing or something like that. Like you've just got to keep going.
And it's that balancing act, and especially as a mother, and if you've been a single mother as well, and
Yeah,
I can relate because that was my whole life. I was a single mother as well, and it's that continual conflict because you need to provide, but you need to be a parent, and it's like how can you find the balance between the two? And especially when you're working in an industry where the hours are really long, and
yeah.
it's not always friendly for to meet both requirements. So.
No, it is getting better though, I have to say. And it really makes me smile when, for instance, one of our site managers once a week has to leave at 3 o'clock to pick his kids up from school. That makes me smile because back
Yeah.
15 years ago, that never happened.
So
Never.
have you got better flexibility now, all these years later,
I
with where
do.
you are now?
I do, but I find that I still put pressure on myself not to use that flexibility. Does
Mm,
that make sense? I keep, unless I really have to, I don't. I try not to take
yeah,
advantage of that.
yeah,
And I think that comes down to the thing where we always feel like we have to try and work harder to prove ourselves, and there's still
yeah.
a bit of that in my psyche.
I totally get it. And I think that's a female thing, to be honest. So there's
I
a
do,
lot of females like that.
I do too. And yeah, the more you talk to people, the more you do learn that you're not the only one that feels like that.
You're definitely not the only one. Definitely not. So has your company got like flexible work arrangements in place that people can use? And
Yeah, definitely. If people ask for them, definitely. I haven't specifically asked for anything, but if I've got an appointment to get to at 4:30 and I leave at 3:30 for that, that's it's no problems at all. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's all that I need. But yeah, there are other people that work different hours or yeah, different things to make their family lives work, and they're okay with that
And
generally.
so with that, because you've identified that was an issue that you had, what could the industry do, or what recommendations do you think would actually help make this a lot more enticing for females if there were some more flexible work practices? And if you could have a magic wand and just wave it and go, this is something that I think would be great to get more women into, make it more flexible for them, what would that look like in Alison's eyes?
I think if it was promoted up front, so if you actually read that if you're reading a job advertisement or something, if they actually stated that in the ad,
Mm,
might help because otherwise you might have a hesitation and go, oh gosh, it looks like they're going to want 10, 11-hour days. I better not apply.
yeah.
I think to be more transparent about it, but genuine has to be genuine, obviously.
Yeah, and it can't be something that's actually said at a advertising perspective and not followed through once you actually find a
Yeah,
suitable candidate as well. So
that's exactly right. Yep.
yeah, yeah. I think that's a great idea because that's one thing that could actually resist a lot of people from actually applying because they don't know how flexible it's going to be and if it's going to meet their needs, especially
Exactly.
if they are a single parent or they're a person with caring responsibilities for other people as well, so elderly parents.
That's it. I've got a friend who's just 50s now, but I can see her skill set. She would be perfect at like a junior CA role to come into that. But I know she's nervous about, oh, what would the requirements be? What would they expect from me?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
especially if you've got like a couple of health issues as well, and you think, am I going to
yeah.
be able to maintain that? But I think there's a lot of people, valuable people who have got experience in life and in other roles that could have a lot
Mm,
to add. It doesn't necessarily have to be 20-year-olds either.
no. There's a lot of people, and I've come across them who do I call them lane changes. They've been going
Yeah.
down one route, and then they go, no, I actually want to give this a try now. So,
And
and they love it.
exactly. And they're such valuable employees.
Yeah. Because they're coming with a whole bunch of transferable skills that is really valuable, and they've come from different industries or different sectors that they can then bring a whole different perspective to, bring some innovation and some different new ideas and different ways of
Definitely.
working that can make it better as well.
Yep.
So be good to attract more of those as well, I'd say.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. So when you look back on your career, you've had a great career. Have you got a standout moment, one thing that kind of just really sticks out for you as something that, that was just either a really shitty experience or a really great experience?
One of the ones recently that I could think of is when I was approached to be on the panel at the Women in Construction Summit.
Okay, great.
That was actually like a big like, oh wow. And like part of me thought, well, what have I got to say? Why do they even want to talk to me?
Uh,
But I think that's when I thought, oh wow. Like and it sunk in. It took a while to sink in. It took me quite a few weeks to even say yes, to be honest.
okay.
I started thinking about it, going, well, and I looked back on my career and I thought, yeah, maybe I have. And to me, that was a big moment. It was an honor to be approached.
That's awesome. And the thing is, it's not a maybe, you actually do.
Oh, thank you.
You actually do, and you've got something valuable. And being a woman in this industry, full stop, is not easy. You and I both know that. We've both been in it long enough. But to then be site-based as well adds another layer because it's completely different to working in an office. And for you to then not just be site-based, but then go regional and rural and work in those communities and build things in regional and rural communities, it's another layer again. So it's different from working, in an inner city corporate office where you get the luxury of going home every day because it's a complete different setup that not many people understand until they've actually done it. So you actually have a lot of value that you bring to the table because there's not many women who've done what you've done, and that's a rarity. So I would really encourage you and invite you to lean into what you've achieved because it is actually something really precious and really valuable that you can actually help share for the next generation as well. So,
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to being able to do that and yeah, including doing things like this today. Yeah, it's amazing.
yeah, yeah, no, it's because it's the experiences and I can see with the experiences that have been gifted to you, they've led you on this journey that's got you to where you are now, and it's now it's kind of like the sense that I'm getting is you kind of feel like you've got this calling to give back and how
Yeah,
you can give back to the next generation and help make it a bit better for them, which is awesome. And we need more people like you. So I'd really invite you and encourage you to lean into that as well because you've got a special gift because of the journey that you've had to then be able to help the next generation as well. So,
yeah. Oh, thank you. And I think you're doing amazing work too, by the way. So I'm so glad we met at the summit.
oh, me too, me too. And I always say you connect with like-minded people. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Just in closing, have you got if there was one bit of advice that you could pass on for anyone listening, whatever it is, it might just be a word, a statement, a comment, something that you've always gone, I just wish I could tell people this. What would that be?
Okay, that would be, and I wish someone had just told me this years ago that step outside of your comfort zone because that's where you achieve the growth. And I wish I'd have known that in my early 20s because I feel like maybe, yeah, I could have progressed everything quicker. That is where growth happens when you step outside of the comfort zone and just push yourself.
I love that. That is so true.
And that's the same in life, isn't it? Yeah,
It is.
can apply to
Yes.
life, it can apply to work. But it's so true. But that's when the change happens. That's when the growth happens. And that's not a cliche. That's it's a reality.
Look at you going to Bega and Merimbula. I mean, that's pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, isn't it? Going and living in a different town for 12 months. So,
That's right. And like as an example, when I was 17, I used to be embarrassed even going into a meeting with all those 20 engineers on my first site job,
yeah,
but you just keep doing it and you
yeah.
grow and that's how it happens.
And you grow, and then you just move to the next step and the next step
Yeah.
and the next step. And eventually you'll be, hopefully, a lecturer at a university and, a female lecturer at a university teaching construction related, whatever it may be. So,
That's right. I'm looking forward to that in my older days.
well, it's something to aim for, isn't it? So good to have a target.
I'm still happy trudging around on site in my safety boots and my hard hat and my
Yeah.
high at the moment, but
One day we'll read about you. We'll read about
that's right.
research that you've done and all these students that you've impacted because I think the seed's planted, it's just got to sprout. So,
Yep, 100%.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Angela.
Awesome. No worries. Well, thank you for joining us, Alison, and we really appreciate your insights and the value that you're bringing as a woman in this industry to the table. So thank you for everything.
No worries.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode today. I hope this conversation gave you something that you can take with you, whether it be a little bit of insight, inspiration, or maybe just a reminder that you're not alone. If it resonated with you, please share. because we're better when we help build each other up. And remember that your experience, your story, and your journey, it all matters more than you know. Until next time, stay kind, stay connected, and never forget you are epic.